are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Welcome, everyone, to a very special and a very exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And, by the way, thank you for that subscription right over there, Omid. Definitely a very nice way to go and start things off, especially with the fact that on my Twitch channel, already there is a hype train that is going on, so very exciting. But anyways, as I was getting into it, as I was talking, what I wanted to go and say is that, yes, this will indeed be a very special episode. In fact, I would even say this is one that many people have been waiting for so long, especially when one significant news has occurred in which now everything is going to be back to normal for this podcast especially, and we are going to be getting into things that I haven't covered in a long time, so strap yourselves in because we are about to get into something really exciting. And not to mention that, considering that this is the first time in a long time that this is the kind of week in which so many different entertainment and animation news has occurred that it was even down to the point that I had to go and make some sacrifices in order to go and pick the best ones to go and talk about on this particular episode. I think we are going to be in for something really fun and hopefully something really memorable at the same time. Alright, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I ask you all, are you all prepared for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? And, thank you, KS, for the subscription over there. Great to see, and oh boy, already a bigger hype train is going on in the Twitch channel. Definitely excited to see, and, yeah, okay, I know, I am a little bit out of sync. I'm not 100% sure how I could go and fix that, unfortunately. Just want to double check if I can. Yeah, I'll have to figure that out later, folks, but you'll just have to get used to it for this episode, or at least for the live stream. But anyways, I do see that people are prepared. People are ready for this. That is great to see. And with all that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story, we might as well jump immediately right into it, considering that it is debatably the biggest news that happened last week. So without further ado, the moment we've finally been waiting for has arrived. After 118 days, it has finally occurred. The strike is officially over. Yes, folks, like I said before, where the fridge are my things? Wow, okay, things have been going a little bit cuckoo going on with my computer. Yeah, boy, not off to a great start, or at least, not right over here. But anyways, yes, as you could see here, the SAG-AFTRA strike is officially done. They have finally made an agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers on a tentative deal, and now the strike has officially been over as of November 9th. So now the actors are immediately back to work, they're going back to the studios, they're going back promoting whatever movies that they are on, so now things can officially be back to normal in Hollywood. And on top of that, it is worth noting that specifically in this article here from Deadline, it actually really goes deep into like the whole history of the negotiations between SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP, really going down into the big battle of trying to negotiate a deal that could really benefit actors. And this was a big negotiation that they have done. Not just with Fran Drescher and who's the other one? Crabtree Ireland. I'm trying to remember. With Fran Drescher and Duncan Crabtree Ireland, and then you got the studios as well, which are represented by Bob Iger, Ted Sarandos, David Zaslav and Donna Langley. So they have been negotiating back and forth, and as you probably have seen, it was a pretty ugly battle. But eventually they did finally come in terms where they did get a deal. Now, it is worth noting that as of today, as I am recording this, it has officially been confirmed, and they actually did reveal the full tentative deal of what's in store. And I could tell you, when it comes to this article, man, is it big. Like, this one in particular, again, from Deadline, like, as you can see, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And it took me quite a while to, like, go through it and to fully understand what is it that the actors are getting in this entire deal. Now, I'm not going to go and, like, read you one by one on all this, because trust me, we would be here forever. But I will give you the summary of what they have gotten, what is in that deal that will be greatly beneficial for actors. But I will say, though, I do highly recommend that you go and actually read this for yourself so that you do have a full understanding of what is in this deal that the actors and the studios have agreed upon. So to go into my source here on Deadline, the first thing they talked about is scope, terms, and wages, in which they did confirm that yes, actors are going to be getting a bigger payment, including the minimum being increased by 7% effective immediately, and then next year it will be increased by another 4%, and then in 2025 it will be increased by 3.5%. Then after that, we got artificial intelligence, and this is a big one that really covers a whole lot of the article right over here. And this is technically the biggest one that actors and studios have negotiated. This was like the toughest one to break, but they have officially gotten a deal and an idea of what they can do. Now, technically, studios are still allowed to go and actually use AI technology, but it's the actors who gain full control of how it should be used. From there, if studios want to actually use the AI technology in order to represent some actors and stuff like that, then what they have to do from there is that not only should they get 100% of consent from the actor, but also the actor must be paid as much as they are working on studio if they are going to be using their likeness. And on top of that, they need to be paid in residuals. So it really is the factor that there would be no difference between if an actor would be on camera working during production, or if their likeness would be used in AI. Or at least in terms of compensation, they both would be the same. So that's a major bonus and a major thing that they've managed to take care of that I could definitely see actors could really be happy with and don't have to be too worried necessarily with the use of AI, that their likeness isn't stolen forever and that studios would just be using that instead of actually hiring them or even paying them. So at least their payments will be covered. Then following afterwards, we got some aspects in terms of streaming platforms. And the next thing they've mentioned is in terms of streaming bonuses, to which they have mentioned that if a content on streaming, whether it be a movie or a series, ended up becoming very popular, in fact, it even mentions here that as of 2024, if there is a program that became very popular in which 20% or more of the domestic subscribers to the service was being watched, well, then the actors have the right to go and have a bonus, that they would actually have a little bit of extra payment for the work that they have done in the project, and that they would be rewarded even more because now it became a big hit on the streaming platform. So that is another thing in which they have clarified and talked about. And then there is also the factor of residuals, in which they went down into how they will be paid even more in terms of residuals, that there will be a bump in terms of that kind of payment on top of having residuals for streaming content as well, for any movies that would be streaming on Disney Plus or on Netflix or whatever, regardless if it's something that was already aired in the past or if it's something that is like new content that is released. Then at that point they have the right to go and receive residuals depending on the performance of how it would do on those respective platforms. Then following afterwards, we also got a factor in terms of casting. This one would go and clarify what they would go and do in terms of auditions, and that they're going to be a little bit more respectful to the people who are auditioning, that they're not going to go and enforce any like strict rules or force them to do things that they would not necessarily be comfortable with. So they are going to be a little bit more open and a little bit more friendly to actors when it comes to auditions, whether it be auditioning live in front of the casting directors or doing a self-tape. So that's definitely a nice bonus to go and have, especially for smaller actors, so that they can be covered as well and that their auditions are going to be more safe. And not to mention that they've also included virtual interviews for dancers and for other aspects. Like, they really did cover a whole lot on that. On top of that, they have also mentioned a bit of a salary boost in terms of pension and health. So now there's going to be a lot more money that will be funded onto that, in which they even mentioned that it will be an increase from $15,000 to $25,000 for half-hour TV or new media motion pictures. And for 1 hour TV or new media motion pictures, they say that there is also going to be an increase from $24,500 to $35,000. There's also extra precautions in terms of performance capture. Following afterwards, we also got scheduling, in which more money will be put onto how the schedules are going to work, and also in terms of adding more importance to breaks as well, because the well-being of the actors is as important as their performances, so more money will be funded onto that. Then there's also some extra payments that will go onto television and high-budgeted subscription video on demand content. And like they really go into the factors for like series regulars, for recurring characters, for guest stars, and several others. Like, they really went down into like many different type of performers that would appear on these shows and what kind of payment would they end up getting. Then also we have extra precautions in terms of high budgeted advertising video on demand. So there's also content for that. They've also mentioned salary boosts for background actors, for stunt coordinators, for singers, for dancers. Also mentioning an aspect for holidays, in which it would include Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Juneteenth. They even added an aspect for equity and inclusion, in which there's also going to be more importance to healthcare with SAG-AFTRA, and not to mention a lot of aspects in the healthcare department that will be included, that also will take importance for inclusivity. So they would be including aspects in which you know, like diversity would have a bit more of an importance, that the healthcare would also include gender affirmative care, and so on and so forth. So it's also going to be a big boost for inclusion with SAG-AFTRA. They have also mentioned sexual harassment prevention, that they're going to be a lot more strict on sexual harassment, and that they will be treating it even more as a crime. So they will put in a lot more precaution onto that. And also for any sex scenes that would be involved, they would go and actually they would go and try to make sure that the actors who would be involved in those moments, that they would be perfectly okay with it, that they would go and provide their full consent onto it to make sure that everybody is comfortable during production, and that nobody would be forced to do anything that they're not comfortable with. And then from there, we also got plenty of others that they have mentioned and highlighted. And these would include animal monitoring, money breaks. On top of that, what else is there? Arbitration, on-screen credit, insurance, education for minors, background checks, wardrobe cleaning, and so on and so forth. So, as you could tell, like, this was a major one, but yeah, a lot of what they've asked for, just like what happened with the writers, they finally managed to get it. So this really does highlight that with both the actor strike and the writer strike, it is a prominent example as to how unions and strikes really do work. And that, like, and really looking back into this whole ordeal, because if you also do count the writer strike, this entire situation took a little over half of this entire year, that it went on from May to November, and it was such a wild adventure. And I know that with Hollywood, like, yeah, they got a massive hit because of it, that with both actors and writers not actually working, and instead that they're fighting for their livelihoods, that yeah, billions of dollars were definitely lost there. But it is great to see that finally they have agreed on an actual deal, that they were able to have a proper talk, and that studios and actors and writers, they can all agree on what they would want to ensure that they would not be disposed of, that especially that they would not be replaced by AI. And again, technically the technology of AI is still going to be used, but the benefit now is that the actors are in full control of how the technology is going to be used. Again, similar to what happened with the writers, where now, in this case here, not only do they have control over how the technology is going to be used, and that if their likeness will be implemented onto the technology, but they will be rewarded as much as if they would keep on working on the project itself, that they will be receiving things like residuals, that they will be getting compensation, that they will be getting full consent. And they really went down into every single factor, even mentioning about what would happen if the person whom their likeness is an AI, they ended up getting deceased, or that they've already been deceased. Well, in that case, they would go and get permission from like a representative of the deceased person, or that like if the person wrote in their will that they don't want their likeness to be used in AI, well, then they would have to comply to it and have that removed. So like there really is everything in there that they've managed to get down into, and they wrote everything down to say that, okay, like they got every single pinpoint already mentioned, so it's all good from there. So like it's no longer a thing to really be worried about, at least for actors. They don't have to be that concerned that AI could be stealing their jobs, because, well, they'll actually end up getting, they're going to be paid for it. It's like, okay, like if there's an actor whose likeness is going to be used in like a movie or whatever, but they cannot make it, but an AI will be there, well, at least they'll be paid as if they were there, that their likeness will actually be paid for it. And honestly, as an actor myself, that was always the one thing that I feel worried about, that if I would be offered a job to work in something with AI, then I want to make sure that every single time that my likeness, whether it be my face or my voice, would be used, then I want to be sure that I get paid for every single time that it would be done. And seeing SAG-AFTRA making that kind of deal, that this would be the case, then honestly, it makes me feel a lot more comfortable, and, you know, not see AI as much of a threat, because we actors actually do get more control now with the technology, that we don't have to be worried that computers and stuff like that would end up stealing our jobs and stuff like that. So at least that can be finally taken care of. That we can put it to rest. But yeah, overall, like with this entire situation, like, you know, it's great to see that finally things are about to be back to normal. And I'm glad to see that there is this entire happy ending that went on with this entire strike, that finally it shows that all the hard work, the months that the actors had to go through in order to save their livelihoods, to ensure that studios do not take advantage of them, well, finally it has all paid off, that they could be safe with what they're doing, that they can get back to work and not necessarily have to worry about like any potential threats or the studios finding loopholes in order to screw them over. Now, I know some could say that we need to still stay vigilant because this entire deal can only go up to 2026. And you never know that if in 3 years, maybe they'll have to go and do this entire cycle again, but that remains to be seen. But at the very least, this battle that we have had, the big battle that both writers and actors have to endure, at least that's finally over. At least they finally did win on that entire round right there. And at the very least, for the next 3 years, they could be comfortable moving forward and not have to worry about any other factors that would go and threaten their jobs, because now they've been completely covered, and they did get a lot of great bonuses as well, including residuals for streaming platforms, that now they have an idea of what they can do with streaming, and that they don't end up becoming screwed over by studios in which they don't get as much money as much as they would with something like movies or TV shows and stuff like that. At least now streaming can actually be a viable platform so that you can go and actually make some good money by doing what you love, whether it be for writing or for acting. So overall, with this entire experience, I just want to say congratulations to SAG-AFTRA for finally concluding the strike and for finally getting that deal finished and to really get what you want throughout all of this. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and it's time that I ask you all, what do you all think about this brand new deal that SAG-AFTRA has received? If you have any additional comments, if you have any concerns, if there's anything you would like to say about the situation, let me know what you all think. All right, so let's see what we got here. Just to say, despite going on for an entire year's worth of complaints and wild banning, as one actor I know started from the Hollywood Weekend, this finally feels like a breath of fresh air. Everyone gets a fair share, hopefully. Also, I can never really imagine how much everyone had to push through and is finally free to know they're safe from losing their jobs from the high cases of AI from ever happening. And to mention this now, my brother Daniel is turning 25 tomorrow. Wish me luck. Hey, happy birthday, Daniel. All right, let's see what else we have here. It took 118 days for the actor strike to get a deal, and 6 months and 7 days of the ongoing Hollywood strike to finally say, forgive me for the pun, but it's all ogre now. Both writers and actors are able to get a deal they want, especially with the use of AI to ensure that they won't be replaced. It's going to take a while to get things filming for both movies and TV series, though, but they at least managed to come out on top against movie studios and producers. Congrats to SAG-AFTRA for the win. Oh yeah, like it's going to take a little bit of time, and they did even mention that, well, it will require a little bit of patience. And oh boy, Ben, thank you so much for the amount of cheers that you've just donated there. Holy crap. But anyways, yeah, it's going to take a while for things to really resume in Hollywood. But at the very least, we can be comfortable knowing that the actors finally did get the compensation that they are looking for and that they had been fighting for months in order to achieve, and not to mention to really highlight the importance of their jobs to the actors, that they deserve better compensation than to just be taken advantage of. So at least there is that benefit right there. Let's see now. All I could say is hallelujah. Finally, after 4 months, the actors and studios finally agreed on a good deal. The use of AI will not be as threatening when not given permission. Finally, studios are given power to the actors. I just wept in joy, and finally, we can rest easy now that everyone can get back to work. Thank goodness. It's quite a long adventure, but the fight is definitely worth it. Hallelujah. Exactly, man. That's why you never give up on fighting. Like, even if it's something that could take, like, over a year or years even, if you believe, like, this is something that really is worth fighting for, then it really is a case that you just have to keep on fighting until you win. Like, you don't give yourself a deadline in all this. Like, if you really do believe in the cause, just keep at it until victory is all yours. That's what, as you can see, that's what the actors and the writers have done for their livelihoods, for their jobs, for their passions. And you could tell these are people who really do believe in what they do, and that they don't believe that this is something that could just be like, oh, brushed off with computers and stuff. They care about what they do, and that's why they kept on fighting until they win. All right, let's see what we got. I was overjoyed when I saw the news that the strike was now officially over. Get back to normal, but it's all really cathartic to see the actors get the restitution they deserve. So with that, major congrats to SAG-AFTRA. That hard work really paid dividends. And as for the studio CEOs who exhibited their behavior they did in the strike's early days, let me just say, get nay-nayed. Oh yeah, like I can imagine this really was something that for studios, they took a massive L on that one, especially for people like Bob Iger or Ted Sarandos or David Zaslav. Yeah, like they showed their bad colors, but like at the very least, we are at the point where they finally admitted defeat. All right, I'll read one more comment before we take our first break and on to the next story. Major congratulations to SAG-AFTRA for their massive victory and better working conditions. To celebrate this amazing occasion, does anyone want a slice of pizza? I'm reheating my pizza, grab a can of Coke, a bag of Cheetos, and continue enjoying the podcast in this amazing Monday afternoon. Nah, maybe not pizza. How about better residuals for the actors? I think that's more than enough. All right, so with that said, it is now time we will go on to our first break. And when we do return, we are about to do something that we have never done in months on this podcast. And boy, does it feel great to return to it. So stay tuned, and we got a trailer to watch. And now, folks, it is time. This is the moment that I know that many have been waiting for. After 4 months of this long strike, it is time now that we talk about a trailer! Yes, the strike is done, the restrictions are out, and now it means that I can finally talk about movie trailers again in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And what better way to go and start this off with something that is already one of the most anticipated movies of 2024. And I will be talking about this a little bit later, excuse me, by the way, but I will also go and mention that this is a trailer in which has already been breaking records and has already been called the biggest animated trailer of all time so far. So with that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and take a look at the teaser trailer for the upcoming Pixar animated feature, Inside Out 2. And that was the teaser trailer for Inside Out 2, to which the movie is going to be coming out in June of 2024. And yes, as I have stated before, this is indeed so far the biggest animated trailer, considering that it has already broken the record as the most watched trailer for an animated movie in just 24 hours. So just in that 1 day span, it has managed to beat the record that was previously held by Frozen 2, to which during that time, the total amount of views that this trailer has gotten is 157 million views. 78 of which, according to my source on Variety, came from TikTok. So that's the major thing. It's the fact that now we officially got our first true look at Inside Out 2, and especially with the fact that they have revealed that some new emotions are going to be coming out. The first prominent one that they have seen, as you have just witnessed, is that we got a character named Anxiety, and I'm sure many people are already relating to this character, but it's also worth mentioning, I forgot to go and bring this up, but I might as well go and just show you all. When you see the poster for Inside Out 2, they have also revealed some other new characters as well, so hopefully you could see it right over here. But like, you got Anxiety, but on top of that, there are 3 other new emotions that are also going to be featured. We don't necessarily have a confirmation of who they are just yet, but I already know that the internet is really going all out in terms of speculation, trying to figure out who each of them are going to be. Some are saying embarrassment, some are saying envy, some are saying jealousy or whatever, but we do have some brand new emotions that are coming soon, and already the most prominent one that we have is going to be Anxiety. So you can already tell that Riley's going to be going through a lot in terms of her 13 years, so that yeah, when she's gonna enter puberty, it's gonna hit her like a ton of bricks. In fact, it's gonna be like the demolition that you have just seen in that teaser trailer. And also, by the way, I just want to go and explain something that personally I love the first Inside Out movie. Not only do I consider it one of my personal favorite Pixar movies, but you probably remember a few years back, I even declared it as one of the best animated features from the 2010 decade. Like, it really was that amazing. I honestly, the team at Pixar and Pete Docter did such an incredible job with it. And I will confess that when I did hear that there was going to be a sequel to Inside Out, I believe they did reveal that back during the D23 Expo, you know, honestly, like, I felt cautiously optimistic. Like, I saw that there was some possibilities. Okay, like, you could, you know, there are some potential that you can do, but let me tell you, it's just going to be really, really tough to go and make a sequel that can be on par with Inside Out. Like this movie in particular would have to go and accomplish what Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse did, where there's this massive high bar that the first movie established, and the second one would have to find a way to really go all out in order to really surpass it. Because whenever Pixar would go and release a sequel and it's not on par, well then it's going to be met with a lot of cynicism. Like, this is the kind of movie that it needs to be great or people just flat out don't like it. Like, for me personally, I do enjoy many of the Pixar sequels. I'll admit, I really did like movies such as Incredibles 2 or Finding Dory, but I will admit that they're not as strong when compared to the originals, like the first Incredibles or Finding Nemo. But with Inside Out, though, I can imagine that the pressure is going to be on, especially right now that, well, I mean, it's good that it has already made a great first impression and that people are already really enjoying characters such as Anxiety so far. But yeah, like, this really is going to be something where it's like all or nothing, that it's got to be one of the best movies of the year, or else people might not really be that interested, or it's, well, I'm not going to say backlash, but it's going to be met with a lot of criticism if it doesn't reach that, like, legendary gold standard that the first movie has managed to grab. And I will say, in terms of my opinion, I don't officially know what to really say about this. Like, okay, it did capture my interest, but I don't know if I could really fully judge if this is going to be something like, oh my god, this is going to be amazing, we got to check this out, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I could fully get into that just yet, But honestly, it is interesting, the fact that we are getting, we're getting another Inside Out, and that we are returning to the mind of Riley and meeting up with our favorite emotions again, like with joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. And well, then we're also going to get the new ones as well. But there is also another thing that is worth mentioning, because this is also another factor that I could imagine that could bring up some discussions with some people, and that is especially in regards to characters like disgust and fear, because now it has officially been confirmed that Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader are not coming back. Let me just go back to the article on Variety. It has been confirmed that now Disgust is going to be played by Liza Lapira, and Fear will now be played by Tony Hale. Now, this is not necessarily based on any controversies that happened to them or anything like that, but it was previously revealed where it's actually because of payment issues. I believe it was around the same time during the D23 Expo in which the project was announced, where it was revealed that Amy Poehler was guaranteed to come back, and she was paid $2 million for it. But when it comes to Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader, they only got like a fraction of it. I believe they were only paid like $100,000 each in order to go and reprise their role. It could be a little bit more, but it's around there. People in the chat wall, if I'm wrong on that, feel free to go and correct me on it. But yeah, because of that, apparently they just find that the payments were an absolute joke, and that's why they refused to come back. So yeah, some people are saying that Amy Poehler might have gotten like $5 million or something like that. That could be true. That could definitely be a possibility. I mean, that could be the thing. It's either 2 million or 5 million, but Amy Poehler is getting millions of dollars for it, where Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling, they're only getting like a tiny fraction of that. That's the main story of it. But I will say though, I don't think this is going to be that much of a problem for this movie in particular. I don't think this is going to be something where people will feel like, oh, this movie is ruined that now that Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader are not going to be involved. Number one, with Mindy Kaling, I feel like honestly with her reputation, like it's been damaged ever since Inside Out. There have been some things that has happened related to Mindy Kaling, not necessarily very troubling or career destroying, but something in which her reputation isn't as strong as what it used to be, especially when it was revealed that she had been supportive of J.K. Rowling and many of her transphobic comments, or, well, the reactions of Velma. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, especially, like, even if you go back in this trailer, like, honestly, like, there have been some moments where we hear Disgust talking, and she doesn't sound that bad.
What do you mean, we?
Honestly, I don't mind hearing that voice, like, in regards to that, I feel like it's okay, Like, I feel like maybe it'll sound a bit different, but it's not that bad. As for Bill Hader, though, I'm gonna confess, I really do admire Bill Hader as an actor, and especially as a voice actor, because he has such a great, versatile voice, and and he also provided a great performance as Fear. So honestly, I will definitely be missing him. But I will say that if there is going to be anyone who would go and replace Bill for a character like Fear, I think they did a great choice with Tony Hale. Much like with Bill, Tony has already shown that he is a great comedic actor, that he has a strong, versatile voice and a long history of doing different kinds of voiceovers, and not to mention, he was definitely a great aspect of Toy Story 4. I mean, it's hard to really hate a character like Forky, and I mean, a big part of that is because of Tony Hale's performance. So honestly, I feel like, yeah, it sucks that Bill Hader is not coming back, but then again, the fact that they are getting someone like Tony Hale to play him, I think, it's a good replacement. I think he's going to do, I think he will be doing a good job on that. So overall, I will say that even though this teaser trailer didn't necessarily show me that much of the movie, but then again, I mean, this is a teaser trailer, so I mean, it is doing its job. But it did definitely capture my intrigue, so I will absolutely be keeping an eye out for it. And yeah, like, as a fan of Inside Out, I will definitely be watching this. Well, I mean, then again, I have no choice because, like, it's my job. I gotta go and do a review on it, but either way, I'll be definitely keeping an eye out on this one. I'm not going to go and put out my judgment as to how this movie is going to be, but hey, I mean, like, our favorite emotions are going to be coming back to the big screen, so that's already exciting enough. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I would like to ask you all, what do you think of Inside Out 2? Are you people excited for it? Did the trailer already sell you on the idea of this? Do you have any concerns that you would like to go and bring up? Let me know what you all think. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, and, well, might as well start this off with someone by the name of Pixar Girl, very fittingly. I'm excited for this. So is my sister, and she was super skeptical about it. Then the wrecking ball came like Miley Cyrus, and that caught her attention. Anxiety isn't the best looking character design, but I am still excited to see her. Envy, ennui, and embarrassment. Anxiety voiced by Maya Hawke, and as a Stranger Things fan, I see this as an absolute lesbian win. How much you want to bet people will have a freak out about Riley's puberty like they did with turning red in Baymax? Probably they will. Like, I mean, considering that those types of people, like reactionaries, have the memory of a goldfish, and maybe they could legitimately be suffering from short-term memory loss, but oh yeah, they're gonna go through that whole thing again. They're gonna go through that whole cash cow and try to, like, really develop that kind of controversy, you know, like literally make a mountain out of a molehill. I would not be surprised whatsoever. And I mean, honestly, that would be one thing I would disagree with you. I mean, if you are literally gonna make a personification out of something like anxiety, I think this is a good look, because I mean, let's be honest, you look at a character like this, they look like a nervous wreck. You know, like, this is someone like that you could tell they got some issues, and if you stand, and honestly, if you stand next to them for even like 5 seconds, you know a panic attack is going to occur. So honestly, I think like the design of this character actually looks cute. I think it looks great, and like, yeah, you look at this, you look at this character, and you could say, yeah, that looks like an anxiety character. All right, let's see now. This looks like everything I could have possibly wanted for an Inside Out sequel. The concepts are as imaginative as the first. The recasting of fear and disgust is surprisingly not that noticeable, and I love Anxiety's design. She looks like a goofy little Fraggle. That is actually true. You know, this looks like, yeah, this looks like a Fraggle with some serious issues. But anyways, this is going to be an absolute must watch. But one thing I got to ask is, if Anxiety is going to take the wheel, will Twitter make a ton of realistic panic attack jokes? Note, Twitter does not make realistic panic attack jokes. How should I know? Honestly, like, this, you know, this is the person, you know, like, whenever people go on Twitter, this is the person who goes and, like, takes control. It's either her or it would be anger. It's one of those two emotions that are taking the wheel whenever you would go and open the Twitter app. But either way, like, it's part of the reason why I don't even interact in there anymore. Like, it's a mess. I still believe, yes, that site is going to be dying eventually, and it should, honestly. It's at the point where, like, if it's not at the point that it's not shutting down anytime soon, its current state is like, nah, it's better off if it doesn't exist. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. I absolutely adore the first Inside Out and consider it one of my favorite Pixar films. And I am very impressed. The animation is still as impressive. I'm really enjoying Anxiety so far, and I'm really curious how they could continue the story of Inside Out. So overall, I'm very excited, and I can imagine that this could end up being a billion-dollar hit if this movie manages to live up to the hype. That is actually true. I mean, if it's not going to be Wish that will become a billion-dollar hit, then Disney's next animated billion-dollar movie will definitely be Inside Out, especially with the positive reception that it's having, especially with the fact that it's already breaking records, even more so than Frozen 2 with the teaser trailer alone. Oh yeah, I could see this being a great success. And if it's going to be a movie that will get raving reviews, even if it's not as positive as the first Inside Out, then like if they are at least very positive, then yeah, I can imagine for sure this is going to be the movie that will help Disney pick themselves back up on their feet, and they will get $1 billion on that for sure. Let's see what else we got here. Anxiety is now my newest friend in my fictional character club I completely made up. I've been waiting for this for so long for an Inside Out sequel. I have such a strong soft spot for Inside Out, as it was the first Pixar movie I've seen when I started adulthood. Although Pete Docter isn't directing this one, I'm excited for the crew that are working with this, especially that special friend of mine I did previously mention on the podcast. I don't care if it's as good as the first, I'm ready to see it. Oh, definitely, man. The hype is real, and it shows. Who else do we have? I could see this becoming Pixar's next Toy Story, and I could see the third film diving into Riley's young adult years as she's near 18 and become an adult, and see how she and her emotions deal with becoming independent and confident. I mean, it's a series where I love to see the main character grow and how her emotions deal with the new changes of her life. Live a little divided with Mindy returning. She's not returning. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like someone's saying, it's like, I don't know about Mindy Kaling returning, but that's what I'm saying though. Mindy Kaling is not coming back. It's now just to go back. It's now going to be Liza Lapira, so you don't have to worry about Mindy Kaling or anything like that. There is no Velma association with Inside Out 2. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we jump onto the next story. Let's see, who else would we have? Did I read through this? Okay, there we go. I'm definitely hyped for this movie. I do like the first movie, and it looks like they are upping the potential for the sequel. Also, is it just me, or does Anxiety look like a Muppet version of Fragley from Diary of a Wimpy Kid? Oh boy. Honestly, I know like I've reviewed the two animated movies, but I'm trying to remember who is Fragley. Like, honestly, like, is Frankly like the little kid? Is it like the baby brother of Greg? I don't know. I feel like it's just like my memory is escaping, and I mean, with the quality of those two animated movies, the freckled kid. Oh right. Oh, that guy. Oh, ew. Ugh. No, ew, no, thank you. I don't want to know about the stupid secret freckle kid. All right, but anyways, folks. All right, so we're gonna go on to our next break, and when we do return, we are going to go into another trailer, this time coming from Netflix. And this was actually something that I will say right now that I went and put up a poll on my YouTube channel because there have been so many different, there have been like so many different trailers that have come out because of Geek Week. And this was the one that got the most votes with 70% of the votes. So stay tuned and we will check out the next trailer. And we are back. Now, before I continue, there is one clarification that I would like to go and make, because I know that ever since the strike was officially over, I've had some people who have asked me that, okay, now that I can go back to talking about trailers in the podcast again, am I going to go back and discuss about many of the other trailers that I've missed in the past few months? Like, am I going to go back to go and talk about either like the Chicken Run trailer, or well, the Chicken Run 2 trailer, or the Leo trailer, or the Wish trailer, or anything like that? And I just want to make a big clarification. The answer is, unfortunately, no, I cannot. And the big reason that I'm not going to do so is mainly because, well, first of all, I feel like it's kind of breaking the purpose as to why I didn't talk about the trailers. You know, like, the reason why they are noticeably absent for the past episodes, well, you gotta remember that it's because of the strike. And the reason that there was an actor strike to begin with is because they were fighting for their livelihood. So I feel like if I just go back and suddenly talk about those trailers that I've missed out just to go and recap everything that I went through, I feel like it just completely defeats the purpose to go and, like, contribute to my support of the strike. You know, it just feels like people are just going to ask me to go and, like, look back into those trailers again and just completely forget that the strike ever happened in the first place. And I'll even just say that if you're the kind of person who cares a lot more about me talking about trailers, like, if you just wanted the strike to be over because you want me to go and discuss about trailers in my podcast more so than to see the actors actually benefit from having a better livelihood for themselves and to protect their jobs from AI, then honestly, I feel like that is an aspect that's more concerning about you, and that you probably would have to go and reevaluate some of your life decisions, because I'm not in the mood to go and try to cater to selfish people who only want their kind of entertainment. You know what I'm saying? But also, another reason is because, well, to be very honest, I just don't have the time for it. For the rest of 2023, I am busier than ever with so many things happening in my life, not just with maintaining this podcast, but also with so many upcoming videos that are coming soon, especially with new releases, with almost half of all the animated films of 2023 just crammed together in November and in December that I got to do a review of each to go through. So that's already stressful enough. And then there's also my personal life that I got to go and maintain with my friends, with my family. And then there's also, like, Patreon that I gotta maintain. There's also my acting career to go and maintain. You know, like, I already got so much in my, I already got so much in my life as is, and trying to balance everything out without overworking myself or without giving myself a burnout. Like, I already got so much as is that I don't really have time to just look back. So honestly, the best thing that we can do for now is to go and move forward. There's no point in continuously looking back when there's already so many things that are happening right now. I mean, it's already enough that with this episode alone that I had to make some sacrifices in terms of what to go and talk about to go and, like, make the best out of this episode as is. So really, the moral of this is that there's no point in continuously looking back, because then you're going to miss out on the opportunities that are happening today. A wise woman once said, "I never look back, darling. It distracts me from the now." So, with all that said and done, and with that out of the way, let us now go and discuss about our next trailer, in which, yes, many people have voted that this is the Netflix trailer they want me to go and take a look at. So, with that said and done, let us now go and check out the next trailer I have over here, which is the teaser for the live-action remake series of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that is the live-action Netflix series of Avatar: The Last Airbender, to which they have also confirmed a release date, to which the series is going to be coming out on February 22nd. And I will say right now that thanks to the influence of my best friends, I am definitely a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I definitely do agree that it is easily among Nickelodeon's best show, definitely an epic series and a highly imaginative world. Like, I also enjoyed Korra, I will admit, definitely not as strong as the first, but still good as is. But, I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender, I do agree, it's definitely one of those fantastic animated masterpieces out there, easily among one of the best animated shows ever made. And yes, I will even say that I do remember watching the M. Night Shyamalan movie back in 2010, and oh boy, what a disaster that was. Like, honestly, back then when I did watch it, you don't have to be a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender or even watch any of the episodes from the show to know that it was just a convoluted and really dumb mess. Like, it was just a disaster through and through. The movie really was just an absolute joke, and even at times that it could be laughably bad. I'm not gonna lie, there are even some moments where, like, me and my friends, we actually do quote from the movie, like, especially with the dumb moments, like, we're waiting until everyone must fight everyone. Or even, not too long ago, one of my friends, like, just for trolling purposes, posted, like, the back of the princess's head, especially with her, phallic hairdo. But anyways, we're not here to go and talk about that movie. We are here to talk about the Netflix series, and I think it is safe to say that out of everything that they have put out, because Netflix put out a whole bunch of different trailers, even animated ones, including a teaser trailer for Ultraman Rising, and even a full trailer for the next DreamWorks animation movie called Orion in the Dark. But this one in particular, this Avatar series, is the one that is so far getting the most hype. This is the one that people are really excited for. And it's kind of interesting to see that a lot of people are really getting optimistic about this one, especially when we have pretty much been confirmed now that people have now regained their trust in terms of Netflix with the kind of content that they would do, especially with something like this, where they would take something from animation and turn that into live action. And a big thanks is actually because of One Piece. It was a long and very tough battle and a long and tough journey for Netflix to go and try to find a way in order to make a proper live action adaptation. They have failed with Death Note, they have failed with Cowboy Bebop, but now they finally managed to get it right with One Piece. So already that plays a major influence in the fact that now they're going to go and do this again, but this time with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now they're getting like fully excited. And one thing I will say with this is that even though you don't necessarily get a whole lot from this trailer, like, it still raises some questions. From what they have shown so far, I will say visually, it looks very nice. Like, this, like, if they were to make another Avatar live action movie, this is what it should have looked like. The sets are actually beautiful. Like, the backgrounds are just amazing, especially like when you look at the different areas. Like, it's just absolutely beautiful. And not to mention the cast as well. Like, I think they did a good job to nailing many of the looks of the classic characters that when you do see them, like right over here, like, okay, you could already tell this is Zuko. Or even when you look into even some of the protagonists, like over here, like you see, yeah, this is definitely Aang. Or even, where we got? Yeah, we got my boy here. We got Sokka, and we got, oh crap. Oh, nut. I'm so sorry, people, but I just drew a blank. I was like, wait, what's your name again? It's not Azula. She's the evil one. Oh, fudge. Chatwell, can you please help me with it? Katara, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, like we got Katara, you know, like all of these characters are easily recognizable, and even the CG, I'm not gonna lie, they don't look bad. Like, you got Momo here, like even though it's like a realistic version, like I find Momo actually does look great, and even Appa, you know, like Appa also looks pretty nice. So like, and I mean, like with over here, like so far visually, like, it does give out a really good first impression, but still though, I can't really go and say that I'm fully hyped for this. And, and some people are also mentioned that, D-Neg, worked on the visual effects, and so far, they've done a very good job. So far, like, what they have presented is actually very impressive. But there is one thing that I gotta say that I have to hold back. This is something that they haven't shown us yet, that honestly, for me, is the key thing of what really makes Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that is the personalities. Like, yes, okay, I'll give it that they did it, you know, like, from what we have seen, the characters here, they look great, and they look like their respective characters, but I don't know if that means that they are going to nail their personalities. I mean, like, yeah, you can have you can walk the walk, but can you talk the talk? And that is one concern that I do have. Like, are they going to stay true to the personalities of these characters? Like, will that comedic tone still be present in this series, or are they just going to make it they're going to try to make it dark and gritty, similar to what M. Night Shyamalan tried to do and failed? That I honestly don't know. It's tough to really go and say, but I mean, yeah, like when you see like all these characters, yeah, they do look the part, but for me, like what really makes these characters is their personalities. You know, it's really their soul. It's really the heart. It's their charisma that really makes Avatar: The Last Airbender the legendary series that we know today. So I know that's really going to put in a lot of pressure onto both the writing and the actors, but I feel like that is one massive component that they got to make sure they get right in order to really succeed with this series. And even though we don't get a taste of that so far with this, and I mean, it is fair. Like, I know, like, technically, like, we shouldn't have that immediately, considering this is just a teaser trailer. But that is my biggest question so far. Before really diving into this, will they go and land the personalities? Will they be able to capture the spirit of these characters in order to go and capture the spirit of this entire show? And that is something that remains to be seen. But I will say, though, that with this teaser trailer, they did manage to give out a good first impression. This is something that I can look at and say, okay, you know what? It looks impressive. Visually, you managed to get it done very well. Already with the with the visuals, with the backgrounds, even with the costumes and the looks of the actors, okay, they did a great job with it. But now it's time to actually tell the story. It's time to show the personalities. Will you be able to go and get that right? And that is going to be the true test of this entire series. Will they get it right? I don't know. But honestly, I know that with me and my friends, we are definitely going to be keeping an eye on this one. And if you are interested in checking out the Avatar live action series on Netflix, then keep in mind that it is going to be coming out on February 22nd. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about the live action teaser of Avatar: The Last Airbender? Are you guys hyped up for it? Are you guys a little concerned? Especially if you are a fan of the original Avatar: The Last Airbender series, I would love to know your thoughts on that. Ooh, excuse me. So let me know what you all think. Alright, so let's see what we got here. It looks spectacular and even better than the 2010 live-action disaster. The world building is breathtaking and the CGI of Momo and Appa look really nice. I adore Avatar as an amazing animated series and I still need to finish it up when I get the time, but I'm really hoping that they didn't mess up the personalities of the characters like last time. If Netflix can do great with One Piece, then maybe Avatar would do the same, but I must say, they better include the cabbage merchant. Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, you cannot have Avatar without the freaking cabbage merchant. Like, if we don't have one guy who's panicking and saying my cabbages, then we freaking riot, folks. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Wait, this can't be right. Last I checked, the live-action adaptations of Avatar: The Last Airbender weren't meant to have effort. This is a really solid first impression. The action looks fantastic. It actually looks really faithful to the original show. And to quote Sokka, the effects were decent. I'll check it out, but I gotta ask a big question. Will the experience be enhanced if I drink cactus juice? Oh, that's a very good question. Although I will say, like, the introduction to cactus juice, I'm not gonna expect that until season 2. But, honestly, yeah, I think, yeah, it's gonna get crazy if you would go and drink cactus juice and watch this at the same time, just be like, what? Oh, I think it might enhance some things actually, but you do actually bring up some good points. Yeah, like even some of the other things I forgot to mention, like even some of the action, like we do get a bit of a taste of some of the action in there, and I mean that's also another key component of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And I mean, from the visuals, it looks like the action is going to be well handled. That I think it's not going to be something that I'll be concerned about. I think that is going to be completely fine. So I like at the very least, the teaser does give me a good first impression, and it gives me confidence on that. Let's see. I absolutely love the original series, and I consider it one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm actually very impressed with this trailer. Visually, it's impressive. The actors look the part, and it could stay true to the original. So as long as this is as good as the One Piece live action series, where it's not as good, but it is a solid series. So overall, I'm pretty optimistic. All right, so I'm a little skeptical with the live action series since I felt that the original series being animated felt unique and stood out better than most shows at the time. I'll give it a chance though, since it might be a gem like the live action One Piece. Plus, at least it will definitely be miles better than the movie. Yeah, honestly, at the very least, we could say that so far, in terms of the reception that this live action series is getting, definitely better than the M. Night Shyamalan movie. So already, it's a good first step. All right, let's see what else do we have here. So this trailer has a lot of things going for it. I do like it, but I'm still skeptical. Mainly on the business level and how I don't trust Netflix to actually finish the series they are adapting. I don't know if they'll cancel it after one series like one season like Cowboy Bebop, or actually give it another season like for One Piece. I still want to know what actually made the creators leave. Oh, that is a good question. Honestly, I completely forgot that, yeah, it is true that the original creators of Avatar were working on this live action series, and then they pretty much rage quit the whole thing. Ooh, that you do bring up a good point. Oh boy, yeah, that does bring up some questions, honestly. And I mean, again, visually they'll manage to work things out. Like I see visually it's going to be fine, but in terms of the personalities, yeah, maybe there might be something that could cause the filmmakers to break and just bail out on it. I don't know. You do bring up a very concerning good point. Hey, boy. All right, let's see. Do we have any other comments, or do we, or is there anything? Okay, yeah, might as well go, I'll read two more comments, and then we're gonna go on to our next break. I have not much to say. Granted, I love the original series, and I even met the whole cast a few times. But this new series looks potentially good. Visually, it's already accurate to the show. Is this show associated with Nickelodeon, though? I think there is some association. I mean, there has to be, right? I mean, considering that we are talking about a Nickelodeon series, like Paramount would have to be involved in to some degree. So I think there might be some kind of association. Let's see. The look to the teaser trailer of the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender looked very promising and faithful to the animated series. I first started getting into Avatar when Shyamalan first made this film as a kid, which absolutely sucked, before getting into the series a few years later, which was awesome. For this live-action series, I hope there is personality for these beloved characters to get me feeling emotional to these characters, so I hope it looks great when it comes out. Exactly. Well, I mean, that maybe it's not 100% hype from what I'm seeing here, but there seems to be a lot of optimism and maybe some questions, but for the most part, this trailer seems to have given a good first impression. And if you are interested in checking out the live-action Avatar: The Last Airbender series, then once again, it will be coming out on Netflix on February 22nd. Alright, so with that said, we got one more trailer that we are going to go and watch, and in this regard, well, this is actually something that came in at the last minute, and I had to do a little bit of some switch-ups in order to make room for this, because we got a fascinating trailer to look into, so stay tuned for that one. And we are back. Now we got one more trailer that we are going to go and watch, and this is actually something that just came out today, or at least on the day that I am recording this. And this was something that has gathered some attention, but not like massive attention to the point that a lot of people would say like, oh, this is my most anticipated movie of 2024. But already now, considering that this trailer has been released and now we got our first full look onto what this animated feature is going to be, oh boy, I gotta say, I think we might be in for something a little bit special with this, and I will admit, it even caught me off guard with this one. So with that said, let's go and check out one more trailer as we take a look at the upcoming animated feature, The Garfield Movie.
You hungry, little guy?
Wait for it.
Okay, yeah, and then the rest of the trailer, they would show like this little promo of like, hey, if you want to join the Garfield Movie campaign, then show us a video of your cat or your dog, you know, that kind of stuff. But yes, that is the trailer for the Garfield Movie, to which it is going to be coming out in May of 2024. Now, before I get into this, I just want to put out a clarification that back when I was a kid, I was a massive Garfield fan. I would even go as far and say that Garfield was probably my favorite piece of literature. Like, honestly, I would have like a massive collection of Garfield comics and like buying all the different kinds of books and like really looking into the history of Garfield, watching Garfield and Friends, getting into the Garfield TV specials or the 2D ones. And I remember I was even guilty of enjoying the live action Garfield movies. So yeah, there was a period during in my life that I was a big Garfield fan. So honestly, and not to mention also like it was almost like religiously that every day that I have to go and read what the new Garfield comic is all about, like get an update on like, what kind of shenanigans is Garfield getting into. So yeah, this is all to say that I was a massive Garfield fan. Not as much as I am today. I pretty much moved on from the Garfield phase, but I mean, I cannot deny that there was a significant part of my life that I was heavily influenced by Garfield. So when I did hear that there was going to be this new Garfield movie, I didn't necessarily think a whole lot about this feature. So I wasn't necessarily thinking like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Oh, this is going to be right up there with Inside Out 2 or whatever. Like, I will say, as an animation fan, it definitely did pique my interest that the director of this is going to be Mark Dindal, to which it will officially be his first animated feature that he has directed since Chicken Little back in 2005. I mean, he has tried to go and direct other movies, but I mean, he didn't really have much luck with other projects in which they would end up getting canceled, but at least now he finally has something that officially sticks and is officially going to get released. So, as someone whom one of my favorite Disney movies is The Emperor's New Groove, of course this did catch my eye. Not to mention that there was another person, David Reynolds, is also attached to this, in which he was also a writer of Emperor's New Groove, and he's also going to be writing the movie as well. Just to go and get a clarification, do they also mention, like he's David Reynolds is one of the writers here. So yeah, it's definitely exciting to see that we got some of the Emperor's New Groove people that they are going to be coming back and working together on this Garfield movie. But I gotta say, okay, I'm not gonna lie though, I don't know what kind of expectations I had for this movie, but my god, did they exceed it. Like, okay, let's be real though. I need to ask, what the fridge is with that first minute? What the fridge is with this heartfelt, tender moment that almost made me cry with this? Some people might be, they might raise some questions that they're kind of like rebooting the origin story of Garfield. But I gotta say, it's like, why was this so tender? Why was this so heartfelt? This was honestly one of the most heartwarming things I've ever seen from Garfield. It's not since some of the specials that I've seen, like, Garfield being so, like, you know, something that is so, like, oh, so, like, that really pulls your heart, you know, like, something that, it shows that it pulls your heartstrings. Like, it's such a beautiful moment seeing John and Garfield, like, coming together, and that, you know, they're bonding over pizza and stuff. It's like, this was such a very sweet moment. And then straight afterwards, like, when we go back to, like, the Garfield that we all know, like, at that point, suddenly, that humor is just so prominent. Like, I was honestly surprised to see how the comedy in here, it really stays true to the Garfield comics. Like, even that entire bit of, like, giving Garfield a bath, like, that feels like an entire little bit that they would go and do for, like, the comics. Like, that was honestly something that I feel like is very impressive. So already the comedy, like, got me really enjoyed in this as well. And another thing I gotta say that I feel like was surprisingly good is actually, believe it or not, Chris Pratt. I feel like they actually did do a good job with casting Chris Pratt in this. Now, I know beforehand I was pretty critical in terms of Chris Pratt, especially when it came to the casting of him as Mario in the Super Mario movie. And I still stand by it that I personally don't think it was a good choice to bring in Chris Pratt to play as Mario. I mean, like, in terms of his acting, yeah, he did fine, but he just still sounded like Chris Pratt. It like, I don't know, something about his performance or something about his delivery, or there's just something about it that it just doesn't necessarily sell me on the idea that Chris Pratt can also be Mario. I just don't necessarily see it. As much as I did enjoy the movie, I don't know, I feel like that's one of the weak points. It's just, they did, like, it should have been someone else to play as Mario as Chris Pratt. I'm not saying, like, oh, Mario should be played by Charles Martinet and be like, you know, wahoo, let's go, you know, like, they already did that kind of joke, but I'm saying there could have been better options than Chris Pratt to be as Mario. But as Garfield, on the other hand, I feel like, honestly, I can hear it. There's something about his voice that honestly does work well with Garfield, and that, okay, yeah, he doesn't sound like the past Garfields, like, he's not like Frank Welker or Lorenzo Music, but honestly, I feel like the spirit of Garfield is still in that performance. I feel like, honestly, there is, like, not much, but there is that small hint of the performance that was delivered by Lorenzo Music that I could also hear on Chris Pratt. So honestly, that is one thing that I was surprised about. It's like, okay, so they casted Chris Pratt as an iconic character, but this one I feel like, okay, this did legitimately work. Okay, I can see this working so far. Now, I will say, though, not everything in this I feel like is very impressive. Like, one aspect that, honestly, I'm still a little bit iffy about is in terms of the animation, especially with the designs. Okay, like, honestly, the concept of the designs themselves, I don't feel like they're too bad because they're staying true to the look of the comics. They're doing a little bit like with what Blue Sky did with the Peanuts movie, where they're just bringing the designs of the original comics and they're bringing them into the CG world. Okay, that I do completely respect. What I personally feel a little bit iffy about is all the textures. I feel like they went a little bit too heavy in terms of the textures with all the realistic fur, the irises in the eyes. I don't know. I feel like they went a little too much. And some people are even mentioning that even John kind of looks a bit unrecognizable. And for me, like, oh, I don't know, there's something about Odie that I feel like he's a little bit off. Like, you know, like with Odie, like, you know, he's like the dumb mutt that everybody loves and that, you know, like every Garfield fan would aspire to be licked by Odie. I feel like with this Odie, on the other hand, if this dog licks me, I feel like I'm gonna catch something. Like, whatever disease you would get in your nether region, like, somehow he'll give it to you in your face. Like, he's gonna lick you and suddenly, oh crap, my face has crabs now. You know, honestly, there's just something about it in which the textures are not as appealing. Again, I do respect the effort in staying true to the original design of the comics, but outside of that, though, I feel like the textures are just a bit much. But that's just my opinion, honestly, and it's honestly not that distracting. Honestly, I feel like the comedy and the heart feel like they kind of compensated for that. That and also the story, I don't know, like, you know, we didn't necessarily get that much in terms of the story, especially now that we're going to be introduced to Garfield's father. His name is Vic, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And I don't know, like, honestly, we're going to have like a reunion with Garfield's dad. And I will say, though, even though we didn't necessarily get much of a taste of the story in this, I don't know if this is really going to be something that will be the strongest asset of this movie. It's not going to be like, oh, we want to watch this movie to see the tale of Garfield being reunited with his father and stuff like that. Especially when in the past, it is true that technically, like, we have, like, I don't know if they have presented Garfield's dad after I decided to move on from my Garfield phase. But I know that with Garfield's father, like, he's been very elusive. Like, there have been several times that we were introduced to Garfield's mother, especially with the second Garfield special, which was a very good one, by the way. Highly recommend you go and check that out. But yeah, Garfield's dad has always been missing in action, and we never know, like, where he ever is. But now we are seeing him come back, and, like, we're kind of having this reunion of, like, Garfield meeting his neglectful father, and in terms of that, I don't know how that is going to be. So we'll see how this goes. But overall, though, I gotta say, I was surprisingly impressed with this trailer. As someone who was a major Garfield fan, I feel like this really does stay true to the spirit of the Garfield comics. Like, you got that surprising element of the heartfelt moment, especially with how John first met Garfield, and even the humor. I find it to actually be very enjoyable. Not just in terms of the not just in terms of like what they have written, but also like the physical comedy as well. Which, I mean, it does make sense. We are talking about the director of Cats Don't Dance and The Emperor's New Groove. If there's one thing Mark Dindal does know, it's definitely comedy. So I'm sure he'll definitely nail it on that. And I mean, with what they have shown in this trailer, they've definitely done a great job at this. So honestly, overall, I won't say immediately that this is among my most anticipated films of 2024, but this is definitely something that I'll be optimistic for. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out and see what they are going to do with this, because if it's not going to be great, then it seems like this is going to be something that will be a lot of fun. So, if you are interested in checking out the Garfield movie, then keep in mind that the film will be coming out in theaters in May of 2024. Alright, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what did you all think about this Garfield trailer? Are you guys excited for it? Are you guys a little bit iffy? And if you're a Garfield fan, then I would love to know your thoughts on it. So let me know what you think on this. Let's see now. As a major Garfield fan, I'll admit that this film looks pretty good. The animation's really solid, and I really like Chris Pratt as Garfield. But man, hold on a sec. There we go. But man, if I had a nickel for every time he did a movie where he voiced a character with father issues, I'd have 3 nickels, which isn't a lot, but the pattern is there. Still, I'm pretty sold on this film, but I'm just gonna say it. Bipedal Odie is cursed as hell. Some animated characters shouldn't be on their 2 legs. Odie is one of them. Oh, yeah. I get it, because, like, usually when you see Odie, he's on his 4 legs. But honestly, I'm kind of used to it, mainly because we have often seen Odie several times during Garfield and Friends where he would be bipedal. So honestly, I don't mind, but I do get it. Maybe Odie is not the kind of character who, come to think of it, Odie would not necessarily have the intelligence to know how to stand on his own 2 feet. So even seeing this is kind of a miracle. Okay, let's see what we have here. As someone who is nostalgic for Garfield myself, I would say the trailer is just fine. Nothing awful, but so far nothing that makes me want to see this one on day one. And personally, I think they should have gotten Charles Martinet to play Garfield. Wait, wrong franchise. Anyways, I may need another trailer before making a decision. Okay, you know what? That is fair. That is fair. I mean, this is our first true major look at this movie, and maybe maybe if they would present another one in which they would highlight the story a bit more, then maybe we could get more of an idea on this. So we'll see. But I do completely understand your sentiment there. Let's see. While I myself am not a huge Garfield fan, I honestly was very impressed. The intro is really heartwarming, the animation is impressive, it stays true to Garfield, and Chris Pratt was surprisingly great as Garfield, so overall this has potential. Also, on a side note, before this trailer comes out, were you originally planning to talk about the live-action Legend of Zelda movie? Oh, I cannot say that immediately, you will see. Let's see now, I'll admit the trailer has catched my eye. Sure, I have doubts with Chris Pratt as Garfield, but like Mario, I'll give him a chance. And I only know baby Garfield for a minute, and if anything happens to him, I'll destroy everyone in this room and then myself. Also, ever notice that a main character that Chris Pratt voices, they have a case of daddy issues? Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny because, like, I'm seeing more and more people that are noticing this. It's like Chris Pratt is the Phil Lord and Chris Miller of acting, in which, like, that somehow there's a prominent theme of daddy issues that keeps coming up with them that not many people seem to really want to go and discuss about those particular people. Like, yeah, we could discuss about the daddy issues of the characters or of the movies that they're doing, but not necessarily about the daddy issues of either Chris Pratt or Phil Lord and Chris Miller. It needs to have a proper discussion. Let's see now. This just seems okay. It's cute, but I'm not the biggest Garfield fan. I've watched the CGI cartoon as a kid and saw 80% of the Bill Murray live action film. And yeah, that's it. This movie isn't really grabbing me. Honestly, I think the Marvels had much funnier cat-related scenes. Kitten eating people while memory plays in the background. Don't ask, just an enjoyable movie. So yeah, Garfield movie, I'm sure fans will like it. I just think the Peanuts movie just felt more sentimental to me. Alright, that is fair. I'll definitely check it out. Since I'm a huge Garfield fan and always will be a Garfield fan, I think this could be a fun film, but Odie kind of looks a little off to me, but I'm glad to see the Emperor's New Groove crew come back for this. Hopefully, it will be at least fun. Definitely. And also, there is one more thing I forgot to mention, and this is something that is so weird. The fact that we are getting a Garfield movie distributed by Sony Pictures, but not made by Sony Pictures Animation, and yet technically, Garfield is owned by Paramount, which is the reason why when you go on social media, you see Garfield making all these different crossovers with characters like Timmy Turner and SpongeBob and Aang and all that kind of stuff. So honestly, I just feel like with this entire movie, it kind of feels convoluted where Garfield is in a similar situation like Spider-Man, you know? It's like, okay, where do the rights and where does the revenue go? I don't know. It's like, in terms of that, it feels very confusing. And yes, some people did mention that, of course, Garfield is also a playable character in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, so there is that too. So yeah, it's kind of a confusing situation. I think I'll read one more comment before we jump on to the grand finale. After having some doubts of how it will turn out, especially casting Chris Pratt as the Orange Cat, after watching it, it's surprisingly really good. Chris Pratt as Garfield fits much better than Mario, the animation is very solid, and baby Garfield is absolutely adorable. Must protect the creature. I'm really hoping that Mark and David will bring the same magic from The Emperor's New Groove to this movie, because I could see Garfield being another fun-filled comedy like New Groove. Alright, so with that said, by the way, one more time, that if you are interested in checking out the Garfield movie, then it will be coming out in May of 2024. But now we are going to go into one more break, and when we do return, we are about to get into the grand finale. And even though the biggest news that happened last week was the SAG-AFTRA strike being over, this is the second biggest entertainment news that happened last week. So stay tuned for that. And now this is it. It is time that we shall go and discuss about the grand finale. And I'm just going to say right now that there have been a lot of different animation related news that has happened during the week. And let me tell you, like I've already said this before in the beginning, but it was not easy trying to go and make this episode, especially with the fact that there have been so many different news stories that have been that have already come out that would be a great fit for AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, but I had to make some tough sacrifices. You probably heard about the whole debacle with The Simpsons and that there were rumors that Homer would no longer strangle Bart, but apparently Matt Groening just came in and said that apparently that's not true at all, and that Homer will still be doing that to Bart. And then, of course, there was also the whole controversy regarding Coyote versus Acme, in which Warner Brothers decided to completely cancel the project and just like shelve it entirely just for the purpose of having tax write-offs. And that was a decision that received massive backlash from the entire internet and from filmmakers as well. Apparently today there was a massive update in which it looks like Warner Brothers is backtracking from it, and they are thinking about the possibility of selling the movie to a different company. Rather it be like maybe Netflix or Amazon or Apple, that they're looking to go and sell it so that another company can go and be the distributor. I know there have been some people who are thinking that maybe I'll go and talk about it in this podcast. I was about to, honestly. Like, I was ready to go and fully discuss about it before the Garfield movie trailer came out. But I will promise you, if there is an update to the whole Coyote versus Acme situation, then I will go and fully discuss about it, all right? Like, hopefully we can make that kind of compromise. I promise you that. But what I am going to be talking about, like I said, is the other major entertainment news that has happened other than the SAG-AFTRA strike being over. And this was one moment that many people thought that this would be just a dream, but no, it looks like it's gonna be a reality with the Legend of Zelda movie. Yes, Shigeru Miyamoto and Nintendo has officially confirmed that they are currently in the works to go and make a live-action feature based on The Legend of Zelda. And not only that, but they have also confirmed the people who are going to be working on the film as well, in which, if I go onto this article from Variety, they have mentioned a quote from Hayao Miyazaki himself, to which he made the announcement on Twitter, to which he states here, "This is Miyamoto. I have been working on the live-action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who has produced many mega hit films. I have asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it." And on top of that, on top of Avi Arad being a producer alongside Shigeru Miyamoto, they have also confirmed that both Nintendo and Sony Pictures will both be co-financing the feature, that both of these companies will be financing 50% each for this entire feature film. And on top of that, on top of Avi Arad, they have also confirmed some other people who will be working on the feature, including Derek Connolly writing the script, whom previously was a screenwriter of Jurassic World, and they also got Wes Ball, the director of the Maze Runner trilogy, to helm the feature. And so far, that is the only thing that we know about this Legend of Zelda movie. It's the fact that Nintendo is indeed going to be making it, that they will be heavily involved in the production to the point of co-financing it 50%, and that it will be from Sony Pictures. So yeah, there's a lot to go and process from this, because I know that when it comes to the idea of a Legend of Zelda movie, that's always been something that people have always felt like it was like a dream project. especially with the fact that The Legend of Zelda is one of the biggest names in video games. You would think that something like that, especially with a game from Nintendo that is so heavily story-driven, that they would go and turn that into a feature film. And it is true that there have been a few attempts in the past that unfortunately did not really happen. But in this case here, now it feels like the dream is becoming a reality, that we are actually going to have that Legend of Zelda movie. And I will say that this was something that I feel like was a long time coming. Because back almost a decade ago, you may recall that there was the Sony hack, in which hundreds of emails from Sony Pictures have ultimately been revealed. And oh boy, do they reveal a lot of dark secrets about Sony Pictures back then. But among them, there have been a few emails in which Avi Arad had been working to make some Nintendo movies with the company, you know, to collaborate with Shigeru Miyamoto, to collaborate with Nintendo in order to turn some of their properties into Sony movies, including Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, and maybe in the future they would try to make a big crossover with a Super Smash Bros. Movie. You know, they were proposing ideas like that, but ultimately, like, nothing ever came from that moment until right now, where it looks like they finally made an agreement where now it is time that they're going to go and make a Legend of Zelda movie. And my God, let me tell you, people, this is something that I feel like it's so conflicting. Like, it's something in which that, as a Zelda fan myself, like, it's something I just feel like I'm not sure how I could feel about the fact that it's not just that we're getting a Zelda movie, that Sony Pictures is going to be making a Zelda movie with Nintendo. Because on one hand, I might as well get the positives out of the way. Like, holy crap, we're getting a Zelda movie. Like, it is actually going to be happening. And not just that, but both Shigeru Miyamoto and Nintendo will be keeping a careful eye on it, that they will be heavily involved with the production to the point of financing half of this entire feature. And considering the work that they have done with Illumination with the Super Mario Brothers movie, like, honestly, that film right there, while it may not be an amazing feature, I personally, I wouldn't consider it to be among, like, the best animated films of the year. I do consider it to be, like, a very solid picture as is, and definitely a fun experience to go through. So with the kind of quality that they have helped create with the Mario movie, hopefully some of that can go and be put onto The Legend of Zelda. Something that not only would be respectful to the games, but also something that could stay true to the spirit of it. That the sense of, like, what we enjoyed from the Zelda games can also be transcribed onto the feature film. So with Nintendo involved, okay, that's going to give me some confidence. But I cannot say that it would give me all the confidence. Because when you look at the other side, this is going to be a Zelda movie given to us by Sony Pictures. And it's not going to be a Sony Pictures animation movie. You know, this is not going to be like Nintendo and Sony giving Zelda the Spider-Verse treatment. No. This is going to be one of their live-action movies. And let's be honest, folks, yes, they have provided some pretty successful ones in recent years, but Sony is not necessarily known for providing some high-quality blockbuster films. Because usually when those films would come out, they're not particularly well received. And that is especially the case with the ones made by Avi Arad when he is involved as a producer. Because this guy is usually involved with big name franchises when it comes to adaptations, especially with the Spider-Man movies. Like, I think about every single Spider-Man movie that has come out ever since, like, the Sam Raimi films. Like, all of those were produced by Avi Arad. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but even nowadays, he is still producing all the Spider-Man films, rather it be the ones from the MCU, or even the animated Spider-Verse films, or even the spin-off ones like Venom and Morbius. But that's the thing, though, is that he also, when it comes to the live-action stuff that he would produce, they're not necessarily that well received by either critics or even some fans. And that's especially the case with stuff like Morbius, or another prominent example that really does make it concerning, Uncharted. And that is one comparison that many people have done, because technically that was the last time we have seen Sony Pictures turn a popular video game property into this big budgeted blockbuster action-packed film, is with Uncharted. And that turned out to, well, maybe financially it did okay, but critically and in terms of the audience reaction, it was a massive flop. Like, Uncharted fans were pretty disappointed with the result that came out of that feature right there. So the idea that the studio that brought us Uncharted is also going to be bringing us the Legend of Zelda movie, that is something that I feel like raises a red flag, and I feel like that's a bit of an issue right there. But then there's also the other people who are involved, including Derek Connolly. I believe that's his name, right? Derek Connolly, yeah. So, like, you got the writer of Jurassic World that's also going to be coming in to go and write the script for this. And in that regard, that's also something that for me raises a red flag, because I'll be honest, I am not a fan of the Jurassic World movies. Honestly, like, rather it be the first or even the second or especially the third, like, they're just weak features all around. So knowing that it's going to be him who's going to be working on the Zelda movie, like, that for me, it's like, ooh, that's not that ain't great right there. That's something that raises a lot of doubt. But then you also have Wes Ball. And I would say among all the names other than Shigeru Miyamoto working on the Zelda movie, I think Wes Ball is the only one that is the most promising. But I cannot say is the one that's immediately giving me confidence or giving me the most hype. Admittedly, I have not seen the Maze Runner movies, so honestly, I cannot fully judge if it's a great idea to have Wes Ball as the director of this or not. So honestly, I feel like that's something that we will have to wait and see. But Wes Ball is just not necessarily a name that immediately gives me confidence. And if you're going to have other names as well, like Derek Connolly or Avia Rod working on this feature, it's not like having Wes Ball included. It's not necessarily something that's easing the pain or like helping me have more confidence to know that, okay, maybe things are going to get better. It's not really the case. This is honestly why I gotta pay closer attention to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Like, you guys probably know that I am a huge fan of the recent Planet of the Apes trilogy, especially both Dawn and War of the Planet of the Apes. Those movies were amazing. But considering that Wes Ball is going to be the director of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, then that's going to be a movie that I'll especially be keeping an eye out on. I'll see if Wes Ball is going to be really qualified to be the director of The Legend of Zelda based on what he's going to do with Planet of the Apes. I think that's going to be something that we'll all have to keep an eye out for. Again, this is not to say that I don't think Wes Ball is a good director in general, and this is not to say that Wes Ball doesn't deserve to be the director of The Legend of Zelda. Maybe he definitely is, but I'm just reserving my judgment for until we do see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and then I will say if maybe he will be, he's a good fit to direct Zelda. But yeah, honestly, it's like with all these conflicting emotions, like, this is why ultimately it's just making me concerned about how this movie is going to be. Even when I was talking to my friends who are also huge Zelda fans, like, even they were a little bit iffy and they were raising their own questions. Like, especially bringing up, I know this was a massive topic on the internet, but a lot of people were talking about, okay, well, what are they going to do with Link's voice? Are they going to keep him mute, or are they going to actually make him talk? Because if you have played the games, or at least the official games, and not count either the animated series or the CDI games, then you know that Link doesn't talk. And me especially, I'm a Zelda fan, especially. Like, I definitely love playing a lot of the games, and even when I was recovering from my tonsil surgery, the only thing that honestly I was doing at the time was playing Tears of the Kingdom. Like, Tears of the Kingdom really did help me get through my surgery as I was recovering during that time. And I mean, that game, by the way, was such an absolute masterpiece. I would honestly say is like easily among the best Zelda games out there. But yeah, so like I have a personal connection with Zelda, and I love playing the games, and even some of the other ones in the past as well, like Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, and even Twilight Princess, which the latter I would say is actually my personal favorite. So I definitely love the Zelda games, and that's why honestly I feel iffy. And honestly, like if there is going to be an adaptation, I want to see this done right. And I think the same can be said with many other Zelda fans, that if there's a movie that's going to be coming out, they want to see this done correctly. They want to see this done right. They actually want to see this as a good movie. And you know, like, and that's the biggest challenge with this film, is the fact that they need to make sure that they get this right, because they cannot do like the other video game adaptations where the others are like a little bit more lenient in terms of like what they could get away with and what could be considered excusable so that fans can accept it. You know, it's not like, I know this is not going to be a case where it's like the Mario movie where they can be as goofy as they want to the point where it's almost like it's almost satirizing itself. It's almost poking fun of itself in a way. Like it cannot really be like very comical in any form. This is this is a franchise where at least 90% of it has to go and take itself seriously. So they cannot go and take the Mario movie route, and they certainly cannot go and do the Five Nights at Freddy's route, where despite being critically panned, fans would go and actually really appreciate it because of the references, that they're happy that at the very least Five Nights at Freddy's would go and actually make references to the games, you know, like mention things like the ghost kids, and you see the elements coming to life. You can't just throw in the reference and just call it a day. You have to put in some legitimate quality onto it. So yeah, there's gonna be, I'm sure there is definitely gonna be a lot of anticipation for this Legend of Zelda movie, but they have to make sure that they create a good movie. And especially with names attached to it, such as Avia Rod, Derek Connolly, and, well, I'm not going to immediately say Wes Ball. I'm going to save that judgment until I watch Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And especially the fact that it's going to be from Sony Pictures, making another big blockbuster video game adaptation like they did with Uncharted. I don't know, like that's the thing that it feels it just feels concerning. And I mean, I am going to be open to the possibility that maybe this will turn out to be a good movie. There is that chance, of course, but so far with the names that are attached to it, I just don't know. Honestly, it just brings up a lot of concern, and I guess ultimately we'll just have to wait and see with how this goes. We don't have a release date as of yet. Ultimately, I can guess if it is going to be completed, then at the earliest, we may see it in either 2026 or 2027, but who knows? We'll just have to wait and see with how all this goes. All right, so with that said and done, let us now go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about this Legend of Zelda movie? Are you guys excited about it? Are you worried that this is going to suck? I would love to know your thoughts on that. And if you have any additional concerns, similar to, like if you have any concerns as a Zelda fan, I would love to know what you think on this. All right. Off topic, but related to Sony, but I did witness some recording of Garfield at the studio last year. Oh, interesting. Anyways, while I never played the games, I do feel hesitant to bring Avia Rod to produce produce next to Miyamoto, the writer of Jurassic World, and maybe Wes Ball, despite the Maze Runner films being okay after watching all of them. But keep an eye out for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, as it looked like it could come out as a generic blockbuster movie. As long Nintendo has creative control, then it can come out okay. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing about this, like it really is the factor that Nintendo has to make sure that the quality of it is good, or else this thing could really crumble, and not only would Sony Pictures be screwed over, but also Nintendo to be screwed over, where it would expose that not everything that they would do would turn out to be fun-filled, fantastic like the Mario movie, and that's going to be a bit of a problem. Let's see. While I am myself more of a Mario fan than a Zelda fan, I am actually conflicted. On one hand, I'm happy that Nintendo is involved, but on the other hand, this is from Sony Pictures, who did Uncharted. As for the writer, he did Detective Pikachu, which I liked, and I thought Jurassic World was fine. So overall, I do hope this will at least be something that will please Zelda fans, like the Mario movie did. Okay, and I will. Okay, so if he previously wrote Detective Pikachu, then okay, I can see why they would go and bring in Derek Connolly to go and write this movie. But then again, honestly, even at that, it's not necessarily helping. Like, okay, I'll admit, I actually did enjoy Detective Pikachu. In fact, a hot take, I actually enjoyed Detective Pikachu more so than the first Sonic movie. But I feel like one of its weak points is in terms of the story and in terms of the writing. That honestly felt like it was just mess. So it's not necessarily helping out in terms of delivering confidence onto it. Let's see, what else do we have here? What other comments? Didn't got much to say on it, but I will say that I'm really hoping that the team making the live-action Zelda movie will do justice, as after I heard that it'll be made by the people that made Morbius, I hope it doesn't turn into a disaster like that with something like the Morbin Time memes. Though I would love to ask, who would be the perfect actor to play as Link? Yes, because I know a lot of people are asking that right now. Like, that is the big speculation, but honestly, I don't know, really. Well, it depends on the direction that they are going to go and take. Like, I think before we could figure out who is going to play as Link, first we need to know, is Link going to talk? Yes or no? How faithful are they going to be to the games? Specifically with Ocarina of Time, because I'm just going to say this right now, I feel like it's going to be highly likely that this movie is going to be a film adaptation of Ocarina of Time. I would be completely shocked if they're going to go into the Pokemon direction and suddenly just do like, oh, our film adaptation is going to be based on one of the spin-offs. We're going to do a live action remake of Detective Pikachu, That would sound a little bit weird. But in that regard, I don't know. I don't know if I don't know which actor they're going to bring in, because I don't know if they're going to have Link actually talk or not. So that's just my concern. Let's see. I would be hyped if I were to see a Legend of Zelda movie. However, I feel kind of mixed about seeing it live action. But since this is going to be directed from the same guy who did the Maze Runner movies and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, I'd say maybe? Ever since I watched the brand new Mortal Kombat movie, I felt disappointed. Although, speaking of Nintendo, I got back from Super Nintendo Land at Universal Studios, and I had a blast. Heck, I even gave Princess Peach a hug. Aw, lucky, dude, lucky. I really do wish to go to Super Nintendo Land. Oh my god, I've heard amazing things about it, and I especially want to go and do that Mario Kart ride. Let's see what else we have here. It seems like Nintendo and Sony are making a Zelda movie. Okay, that's something we had to wait and see for now, but my question is, how is Nintendo and Sony are going to do the partnership? Are they still rival? There are the rivals turn into video game business. Yeah, that is okay. I do understand what you're saying, because I do understand there is that conflicting thing, because a lot of people are bringing up like the weird concern and the question of the fact that, yeah, like, is it weird that Nintendo and Sony are going to be making a movie together? Like, is it considered a conflict of interest if Sony is going to be making a movie based on a game from one of their direct competitors? You would think that, well, if Sony is going to be making movies based on video games, they would just stick to PlayStation to be on brand. So I don't know, like, they would have to, like, that would be something that I feel like the Sony Corporation would have to raise concerns. Like, they would have to go and, like, mention something about it. But I don't know. I feel like that, like, we'll see ahead. Maybe they've already got that situation resolved, but ultimately we'll see. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go and cap this episode off. Let's see. All right. Oh boy, this is one heck of an announcement. As a Zelda fan myself, I'm very excited for the thought of the movie, but seeing some of these names and what they've done in the filming industry makes me very cautious. We'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening, but all I hope is that they can tell a good story while bringing justice to the series. Also, I'm not sure if I can handle another cast reveal on the same level as the Mario movie. Oh my god, that is so true. You know that this is going to be one of those things that the internet is going to explode with every little announcement they're going to make, especially when it comes to the casting. And I believe with that said and done, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I am so glad that things are finally back to normal, that the strike is done, and that we can do trailers again. So thank you all so much for joining me on this. And also I would like to go and mention that if you would like more of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, and stay tuned for any new episodes that are coming up, then don't forget to go and subscribe to the AniMat Live Twitch channel or on the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. At the same time, don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, rather it be on Spotify, on Google, on Amazon, or iTunes, or whatever. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.